hold tight for 1 second. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
you take the time and we thank our good Heavenly Father. We want to thank Him for this day, thank Him for the pod, thank Him for you. Let you know that I'm thankful and I'm grateful for this. I appreciate you. Let's get to it.
TK was he's a special person to me. He reached out to me and just said, "Hey man, I'm TK. I just want you to know that I'm following your journey." And he gave me some background about things that I would go through, and if I want to continue to take this path and surround myself around good people and be a student of the game and treat people right. And that always stuck with me. And so I was fortunate enough to have a lot of great mentors around me, older guys. I remember meeting you, Pete, for the first time. I was, excited because I remember hearing the name Pete, when you was busting out of a head in 04. And so just being around older people and kind of just always being a student of the game. And then I just wanted to give my players the same experience that my coach gave me, and just continue to pour into them and give them opportunities that I'm not sure kids in our districts will have. So just kind of really wanted to focus on building my career more so off the court than on the court. And it's kind of, led me to have a lot of success in the high school coaching ranks, and not just in wins and losses, but impact, which you can't really measure my impact. And so I always take pride in what I've been able to do. And even my birthday yesterday, man, just every one of my players just single-handedly text me and write me and, "Coach, love you, man. Happy birthday." Like, that's, to me, that's always going to be my state championship. That means the world to me, because that's a lifetime of relationships. So, to sum it up, though, those pieces of the journey now led me here to Northview High School, and we got a chance to compete for a state championship this year.
Absolutely.
Man, that's what's up, bro. Man, yeah. I love what you said, bro. Like, that's your state championship, the relationships that you build in, the impact that you're making. You can't measure it, bro. So, me personally, I love to hear that. Also, 22 years old, you became a varsity coach, like you said. Like, what were some challenges and lessons that you learned early, in your leadership experience?
I had to block out the noise. I remember, like, I didn't really have issues with people. Like, I was always liked and respected by people. But when I got in this position, it was a whole different beast. Like, I remember guys shaking my hand and then literally walking away and talking about me. That guy isn't ready. I remember the superintendent pulling me into the office. She's getting letters and people saying, "Do you really want to hire someone this young with no experience?" And I always thank Ron Gorman and Teresa Weatherall Neal for believing in me and giving me that opportunity. And so, to have the Thomas Kellys, the Eric Taylors, the Shannon Bakers, and my good friend, but Dan Mason, rest in peace to the great but Dan Mason. But to have those people, like, early on in my career, like, help me block it out. All those guys are, 15 years older than me, at least. So to have them kind of surround me and kind of help me block it out, I learned that early on, because otherwise I would have been trying to seek validation from people who have zero credentials and skin in the game. And so that helped me to be able to focus on what I was trying to do and what I was trying to build, within my program.
That's awesome. First of all, I was going back to what you had said prior to, West had 38 at that game too. I watched the game against Central. He had 38. And, you said a good thing Coach Van was talking about was that's exposure. And we know exposure can come in good ways or bad ways. You know what I mean? And I think that's where a lot of coaches, especially back in the day, they didn't really want to expose, especially in Grand Rapids, they didn't want to expose to better talent, and maybe they were afraid to break confidence. But to me, man, you have to be thrown in that fire. And I think Coach Van, who's coached on the AAU scene, he kind of understands that whole entire aspect of everything. But talk to me about your Northview squad. Talk to me about what led you to that job. Talk to me about kind of how you see you guys going on this year, and how do you feel about your team right now?
Yeah, I've been following Northview for the last few years. You know, uh, it's interesting to watch how Northview has grown. And then I had a relationship with some of the players who I would work out with during the season and in the off season. And I remember getting a text message. I was doing some guest teaching, and they said, "Are you interested in going back to coaching?" I said no, because I've had opportunities since I've stepped away. A lot of good opportunities, and I just wasn't interested. And they said, "Well, what if it's Northview?" And I said, "Man, that get really interesting." And so it took me about 5 weeks to really sit on it and decide, because I do enjoy what I'm doing now at the grassroots level, which I've never spent time in the grassroots level. But I saw the opportunity, and they embraced me, and I got in there and kind of wanted to add my seasoning to what they already have. So I'm more mature this go around. I mean, I got a compliment a couple of weeks ago by some officials. Just said, "Man, we was in a meeting, and the way you have matured over the years is amazing." And so I said, I learned that, and I knew that, because I remember ET telling me when I stepped away that you're going to be even better when you come back. Because you're learning so much. So I was watching a lot. So one of my biggest issues was always harping on the officials and talking about what call I didn't get and screaming and yelling. And that really doesn't fix anything. If anything, it distracts your team. So I'm sure officials have made bad calls this season. I have yet to complain to an official, because at the end of the day, I'm focusing on winning every possession. And so that's what we're doing right now. We're trying to get to the point where we're winning 99.9% of possessions. And I want to get every rebound. I want second chance points. I want to score every opportunity. And so I wasn't able to be there with them in June. So missed out on a lot of implementing our system. So we wasn't able to really get on court instruction until November. And so we literally today just went back and put in some new things, and obviously got a different approach what they were accustomed to. But I didn't want to take them. My ego's not big enough to just do everything I want to do, because sometimes you got to meet them where they at as well. And so
Absolutely.
I think we put we starting to do some new things. Then our defense has kind of been our focal point over the first few months, holding teams to 40 points and shooting 28% from three, and under 40% from the field. So we backing our hat on defense and slowly implementing our offensive principles, and hopefully be at our best in the next couple of weeks.
Before you go, Wes, because I know Wes is going to jump into another question, but what you said about your first stint coaching and how you were doing a lot of yelling, because I was doing the same thing in my first stint of coaching, and I learned after when I was done, if you're up standing up the whole entire game yelling, you didn't prepare your team enough prior to the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's one thing I noticed. I was like, why am I up here yelling, sweating? Because you didn't do the prerequisite things prior to the game to prepare your team. So I found myself my first couple years, I was coaching every single movement. I'm coach, get over here, you go there, close out, and a lot of that was just me not fully preparing my team to play. And I think that's something I learned over the course of years, and now stepping away from it. That's why I've talked to some people recently about wanting to get back into it at some point, because stepping away from it, I've been able to kind of see some of the things that I failed the first time and how I will be able to, make sure I improve on that the next time I get an opportunity.
Yeah, nope. Yep. And it really helps you too. You'll see when you get back in.
Oh, when you get back in. You heard that?
If.
Or if.
Yeah.
Okay. Big if.
Yeah. Yeah, so BG, it's a hot topic on social media, on TV, youth basketball. What's wrong with youth basketball today? All the way to the NBA. Like, why is the world taking over, right? Grassroots. So you got to grassroots. You mentioned that NYBA. So talk about your motivation of starting that, and yeah, just tell us that story.
Yeah, so obviously in 2020, I had young kids coming up. My boys were 4 and 5. We were going to start at the YMCA, which we did. I had met a friend of mine, Rick Vanderbosch, was a great friend and mentor of mine, and he asked, he said he could see me being an entrepreneur, and so he told me to dream big, big as I can. And I just started writing out what I wanted to do, and at the time, I was writing out an academy, but it was only, it was going to be based locally here in Grand Rapids and everything that I wanted. But I said, what we could do is make an impact throughout the world with basketball, because basketball is continuing to grow. It's the second largest youth sport, and despite what people say about prices or commercialized, every youth sport has been commercialized. Not basketball, because you was able to go outside and play it. But it's 2026, so people should jump to 2026. It's not 1995 where people are at parks anymore. I think basketball is one of them sports that's driven through social media. And so it's just kind of increased. Kids want to play. It's a bunch of kids want to play. Parents are more supportive of their kids. And so they're going to do what's best to support their kids. And so when I looked at the landscape and I started researching from the international level, NBA, college, high school, all the way down to youth level. And I said, man, I wonder what is missing. And what I found out is the teaching of how to play the game is different. And so before we started NYBA, my wife's business was Power Elite Training. And so we did a lot of skill groups. And I just told her, I said, I don't really have fun doing a bunch of dribbling around cones and things like that. What about if we start teaching concepts, offensive and defensive concepts, DHO, Spain action, split actions, and then how to guard ball screens, soft hedge, hard hedge, blitzing it, and then how to read those screens. And I started teaching my kids that when they were about 6 and 7 years old. And eventually, like, the YMCA sent us an email to say, hey, give you guys a reminder that this is just for fun. Basically, we were too competitive, so we had to leave the YMCA. So our next thing to go to was AAU. And so we jumped into AAU. I'm like, we go out there to AAU. I mean, our first game, we were getting pressed. I think we lost like 45-6. And all they were doing were like pressing literally 94 feet. They had 4 guys, like from the opposite 3-point line to the baseline. I'm like, no way this is real basketball. And no way this is helping kids learn how to play. But I get it. It's a unique strategy to use to take advantage of your size and athleticism. And my boys at the time were 7 and 8 playing against 9 and 10-year-olds. And so they, even now, they play up, they 10 and 11, and they play against 12 and 13-year-olds. And even older. But my focus is you can play with anyone if you know how to play. And so we wanted to find the middle ground because everywhere you go throughout the country is basically, if you want kids to get, like, my advice is introduce the kid to the sport in a competitive way. That should be their first stint. And if they don't like it, drop them down. But I see kids who come from that YMCA I-9 and they can't really transition to competitive because they've been in the rec space so long. And so NYBA is more competitive development. And so we seen that everyone wanted AAU and competitive and elite basketball, and then others wanted the rec. So we said, well, we can take the middle because no one wants the middle. And so that's how we were able to build on it and then obviously expand now that we're in 9 markets across the country. And so there's a need for what we offer. And so we're looking forward to continuing to growing and eventually get to 24 to 30 states and then eventually get into 4 to 8 international markets within the next 3 years.
Man. And what age does it start?
It actually started here in 2022, but the research and the foundation of it is 2020.
No, I mean, what age does
it starts at 5. Yeah, it goes 5 all the way through 17. Okay. Our program is 7. We have 7 through 14 right now. But then, like our states in Texas, they have 7 through 17. But it is open. We got programming from 5 all the way to basically seniors in high school.
Amazing.
What you alluded to earlier was, with AAU coaches, especially coming up, I've seen it a lot where coaches coach to win. They don't coach to teach. They don't coach to develop. That's really AAU culture. You're just coaching to win. So you're pressing, you're running, you're pressing, you're running, but you're not really teaching, So I know that with your vision with NYBA, it's to teach. So what is your long-term vision? And then expound on where do you think we are as, American basketball, where we are in our development? What's the direction we're going in right now?
Well, I've been paying attention to it, and Pete, I've been telling this, and I remember telling my wife, and even telling Greg and TK. I remember telling these people that a few years ago that what we're doing, everyone's going to start doing it. Everyone's going to start having their own personal academy, whether it's former and current NBA players. You see Kyrie Irving just dropped the circuit. NBA players are being heavily involved in the youth space. And don't be surprised if you see a bunch of Cade Cunninghams and Tyrese Maxey, these kind of teams feed into the circus now, and they start moving out your traditional directors, who was a guy who was a coach in the area, and he built the program, got some good players, because it all kind of feeds into each other. And then they're getting teams younger. For like Jeremiah Fears now has a AAU team, and you're going to continue to see that because social media is driving it, and plus I think they think it's cool, which is not a bad thing. Like, they want to give back to kids too. And so, for us, we looked at the European model, basically that club model. And so our model is a hybrid of American basketball and international basketball, where people say don't specialize in one sport, where we don't. We got kids that play 2-3 sports, but we do offer year-round programming. So whether that's club teams, so like example, we practice 3 to 4 times a week. Our ratio is 108 practices to 62 games, right? So we're getting more practices than we're getting games. And we look at games as just competition, more space for us to practice. And then what we want to do, we want to have these academies across the country. And so what's going to happen in 2028, these academies will go to Brooklyn, and then they will compete in our own national tournament. And so it's basically our own pipeline for youth development. And our goal is to have kids move on to the next level. If I got a kid that's ready to go play on the circuit, then we've done our job. Right now, if we get kids and we get 10 kids that's all elite, then that's cool too. But our sole purpose is to transition them kids on the higher levels of competition, whether that's high school, college, or pro. So we want to make sure that we teach them in the right way. So even with our youngest kids come in, they come in with uniforms. Jerseys have to be tucked in. And then they're going through a real hour and 15 minutes of practice. I always say it's no kumbayas, no bananas and applesauce. They get the real thing at an early age. And then if they want to decide, like I had a parent call yesterday, and he said, so we got 12 kids on our roster, and it's intentionally. Because one, you got to be able to practice because everybody can't make it. And two, you're going to have 12 kids on a roster in high school or beyond. And everybody can't play. So we're teaching kids now that this is not equal opportunity for minutes. You don't pay to play in our program. You have to earn your minutes. You're paying for the overall experience. And part of your development is to get a good experience. If you're not playing, now you need to figure out as a kid, what do I need to do to play? The parent may be concerned, but always put it back on the parents. Is your kid practicing? No. Are they watching basketball? No. Okay, so they're not putting any time in to be on the floor, so they don't understand it. So the goal is to get the kids, the ones that like it, we're trying to get them to the next step to love it. The ones that love it, let's see if they live it. The ones that live it, let's keep building them and transition them on to the next phase of high-level competition.
Love that progression.
Yeah.
Because in order to make that progression, obviously you have to like it. That starts it. You have to love it. That's the next part. But in order to really go to the next level, and play in college, you have to really live it, or it would eat you alive. You know what I mean? And we've had conversations. Me and my brother have had conversations about just, what you need to sacrifice and how do you need to go about it to be successful at that level. So I love that. I love that progression that you have with that, because that's just exactly how it should go.
Yep.
Oh yeah, 100%. Let's talk about the showcase, man. 2K showcase this year. What are you looking forward to? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I'm always excited around this time of the year. I remember when it first started. How it actually started, I tried to play in Cornerstone event, and Cornerstone said no. Blatantly just no.
Wow.
Like no. And so I looked at the makeup of the teams and I understood why they said no, because there were no teams from the city that was participating in their event.
Yep.
And so Coach
Yep.
Van had the Floyd Mayweather Classic was the best event in showcasing the state. And so I remember online and I was saying, well, Union wants to play in it. And some lady, one of my former teachers, she said, Brandon, stop bitching and start your own event if you want to be a part of something. And I said, bingo. That Monday, I sat right on my computer and I started blasting out emails. And I did a trivia question. We actually had Jalen Brunson's high school committed to the first ever event. But then we changed the date, and so that we had a scheduling issue. So my goal was to always build it for the top talent to participate in it, and as you all said, to expose not just the players but our community and our fan base to what it looks like over there. And I don't know the record to update a record, but if I had to check, the East Side has dominated this side of the state. We didn't have some good runs, but they have, for the most part, have dominated the state. So I always enjoy bringing different styles of play in. I mean, over here in West Michigan, you're only going to kind of get sort of the same style of play, which is why I like what Mike Thomas do with the Gotta Get It. Like, we get more of that on this side of the state, along with what Keith Guy do at Muskegon. But I'm excited again for this year. I mean, obviously, we expanded out to 2 different dates. Obviously, we had so many of my guys wanted to participate in it, and I just didn't feel right leaving them out. So I said I would create 2 dates just to give everyone an opportunity. And so actually the 31st, the big crowds are typically on the second weekend, but man, the last few years, the first day has been the best weekend. And so it's been some good basketball. And so being able to see Chicago style of play when they come back down. Obviously, we get to play Rockford, so this is probably only the second time we've done a local versus local. Lima Senior, who's coming down to play East Kentwood, who's number 2 in the state. Lima Senior, who's number 1 in the state in Division 2 with the Foster boys. And so it's just overall from top to bottom, I look forward to it, man. People always think I'm tired I'll be pumped up after the event. I mean, I'm up after every event to like 1-2 in the morning, just kind of recapping it. And so we're looking forward to it for another great event. It's at the Grand Rapids Community College Fieldhouse, where the original holiday tournament was, I believe, 1987 is when they started, and had the likes of like Chris Webber, Shane Battier, Jalen Rose, like those guys play. So I think it's going to be a historical a moment to bring it back where it all started.
That's what's up. If I could
go ahead.
If I could sidetrack real quick, you talked about CC's gym. I want to give a shout out to Tawasi. 2004. Drew Niceville.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Sham God.
Oh God, no.
I'll just leave it there. I'll just leave it there, bro.
Don't say who it. Okay, listen.
I'm not.
Listen, don't say who it was, because listen, that great Tawasi game. So great Tawasi game. I think that might have been one of the last years it was over there too at Grand Rapids Community College. A lot of my guys coming up played in that game, but one of my guys, he was the victim of that sham God, man. And I'll just say this: he was a Grand Rapids guard.
Yeah, I know exactly. I actually talked to Drew about that a couple years ago. You know, he had downplayed it, you know, and I asked Drew this, you know, Wes, because these like people in the city don't think, they say, you guys, Calvin, Grady, Drew, if y'all were to play in the city, you know, y'all couldn't do what y'all were doing every night. Man, listen, excuse my language again. They will come in the city and bust everybody ass. So
For sure.
like I got respect for the city, but it wasn't. I mean, these dudes were good. Wes, Pete, Calvin, and Drew. Like these guys were good. I remember saying that to Drew, like literally 2 years ago. I texted him. I said, "Hey, Drew, I did see on Facebook that somebody said you couldn't play in the city." And the next, you know, I'm hearing stories about him dropping 30 and 40 on city league teams in the summer.
Man, it's like what
Bro.
if Drew did what he did against Malik and Joe? Like, what do you think he's gonna do in the city league? I don't know.
He was gonna kill.
People wasn't really. They didn't know.
Yeah,
because you know I seen Drew on the national scene, you know, so I already knew like it was real. You know what I mean? I had to see it though, but I was like, yes. When he came home and we played that senior year, when he had like 50 average, like 54 in like a 3-game span, I'm like, that's what he does. Like that's literally what that boy does. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But man, like I said, that game, that was just a tremendous atmosphere, man. And man, looking back at just in that era, you know, I know for me, when I played at Grand Rapids School, you know, especially being black, you know, because me and my brother, you know, we went to school in Jensen, but we didn't learn to play basketball in Jensen. We learned to play basketball in Akron, Ohio. So I tell people all the time, our upbringing was at Summit Lake Recreational Center, you know, which is in Akron, Ohio, and that's where LeBron James and Frank Walker and all those guys, that's where everything started with LeBron James. So that's where we learned how to play. So when we got to Michigan, you know what I mean? It wasn't really nothing for us. So them city games, if it was a city game, oh yeah, and I'm going. And I think the ones who knew, you know what I mean? The ones who knew about it knew. That's why, like, you know, West against Central, 38. You know what I mean? Because and then they realized, like, oh yeah, okay, they real. Okay, let's make sure that we get ready for these type of guys.
Coach Van said you could think West soft if y'all want in Genesis. That's what he said. Because I'm like, oh, you were hearing about? I'm like, well, what did this do? Where did they grow up at? Like, until Pete, like years ago, was like, yeah, we from Ohio. I'm like, from Ohio. Like, no, because like Jenison ain't got nothing like that out there.
Nah. Yeah, bro. So go ahead, Wes.
No, for me to find a challenge most of the time, it had to be me and Pete. Honestly. Then playing AAU, playing with the Grady's and stuff like that. That's where we're finally like really getting outside that Jenison bubble and being challenged and stuff like that. So yeah,
we didn't really know about it. Quick little story, B. We didn't really know about just the whole culture of West Michigan, Grand Rapids, none of that. We just like we moved to Jenison in like late August. We didn't know nothing about the neighborhood. We didn't know nothing about the school. We just moved from Ohio. We just kind of fresh in, you know what I mean? I'm in 6th grade. It was just kind of new to us. So we get to, I think, spring ball that following spring. And I actually got a friend of mine knew about the Storm. So I played with the Storm my first year, right? So we at this tournament. We might have been in Grand Rapids. I can't remember where it was. We at this tournament. I'm with the Storm. And then I saw Grady and them. And I'm like looking at them getting up and down. I see Nick Nickerson, LJ Kilgore.
The red and black uniforms.
Yeah, the red and black uniforms.
Looking tough.
Justin Proctor. I'm just like, man, dog, that's where we need to be. You know what I'm saying? Like we need. And then I remember our dad went to go talk to Mr. Grady, and you know how Mr. Yeah, you know they coming over here with us. You know they coming over here with us. You know, so I remember that following year I was with Grady. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of gave me, you know, the introduction to, you know, Grand Rapids basketball. Then my brother was playing, you know, with Grady too as well.
Yeah, this is what we dealt with, BG. So, like Pete said, we're in Akron playing at Summit Lake. I was playing up with Pete's age. So, referees, 10-foot rims. You could press. Refs calling travels. double
All that.
dribbles, all that, bro. Keep it score. Notice I'm saying what I'm saying. So we get to Jennison, and my dad's like, all right, signed you up for basketball. I'm like, oh yeah, perfect. Hype. And then I get to the game. First thing I notice, 7-foot rims. I'm just like, what is going on right now? And I'm thinking we get right to the game. No game. We're practicing. We're all right, dribble with your right hand, down and back. I'm like, what? I'm looking at my dad. He's just like, just do it. I'm like, okay. So we end up playing like a 10-minute game at the very end. The first person I'm guarding gets the ball, takes off running, no dribbling, lays it up, scores on me. Everybody's like, ah! I'm like, what is going on right now?
Yep.
That's what we had to deal with, bro. Like, it was just.
And it hasn't changed, though. Y'all know it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So one of my things with NYBA is like introducing kids to competitive. Grand Rapids don't really have it. And I know people saying East, West, and Grand Rapids done caught up with the East side. No, we haven't. Like, I don't know where they get that notion that we've caught up. Like, good, we got Kobe, Tillman, being like, we done had some success, but we're not there, and we probably won't be there because they 2-3 times bigger than what we are. But it's our culture. It's hey, wear a wristband and follow your man around, and it used to get me when we used to play. The score, we'd be 25-0 and a team score and they act, the parents screaming and shouting. I'm like, why is everybody screaming and shouting? Mm-hmm. Right. And then the ref said, well, we got to turn the score off. I'm like, why? Like, I don't mind, like, when a team was beating me 44-6. I mean, keep the score. You don't got to reset the score. Man, actually, if anything, it motivates me. So that's what kind of softens us up. And I remember college coaches coming to recruit my kids, and they're like, man, we like him, but we can't offer him. If he was from the East Side, maybe he could get offered. But, y'all got this rep about y'all toughness over here. Like, but it's our culture. I've been telling all our families. And a good one to talk to is Trey McKinney, dad, John McKinney. He's always saying that, BG, man, I like what y'all got over there. Everybody's just soft over there. And it's not everybody, but it's a family-oriented town. But what Wes is saying is exactly why our kids start behind. So I'm in Detroit at Darius Acuff camp with 7-year-olds who playing like they 15. And then I look at our 7-year-olds, they somewhere wearing green and yellow wristbands following each other around. I'm like, it's just they got two different platforms. And so that was one of the things why I said we can come in the middle. Because even for me, I wouldn't want my kid to have gone through that, which is why it showed that and no knock on the city. Grand Rapids is a beautiful city, but that sums it up what you said, Wes. That literally sums it up.
I think that's what really motivated me and my brother to work on our own game together. You know what I mean? Because we wasn't really challenged at all. As I wasn't really challenged. We both wasn't really challenged up until our senior year. I remember I talked to TK about that. Like, I felt like if we were able to go to a East Kentwood or a school like that, like, I would have been more challenged. And I think that was kind of hurt me. Well, really both of us. A lot of Grand Rapids kids in recruiting, because I remember a prominent college coach told me that, or told a friend of mine, actually TK, told like they wasn't even recruiting Grand Rapids kids. They would just go over Grand Rapids and go to Benton Harbor or something like that because Grand Rapids kids was soft. That was just the notion of Grand Rapids kids. So yeah, man, I experienced it too, man. I really did, man. And I feel like the narrative is a bit different because you said we've had a couple of guys who actually made it to the highest level. And I will say this, B, maybe your perception of it might not be different, but I feel like Grand Rapids has really come a long way in terms of being relevant in the state. I think it's not there yet from a competitive one-on-one with a Detroit school versus Grand Rapids school, but I still think though that there's some relevance in Grand Rapids. I was looking at the top 20. You guys are in the top 20. East Kentwood, Hudsonville, Rockford. There's at least 4 or 5 teams in that top 20, which back in the day, it would just be one team.
And an even deeper conversation is across the country, gentrification and where the kids, now you're talking about private and prep. kids are not going to these city schools. So if these city schools were still existing, these schools wouldn't be here because they weren't there before. They're only there now because kids are now going. The better players are now going to the suburban community schools or the public schools, or they going to the private schools, right? And so I've watched that turnover. I remember when they tossed the city league and we went to the OK conference, and I'm like, man, this is so different. And I remember it was a point in time when teams wasn't losing to these public schools that they're losing to now. I mean, these city schools was running the show. And, I remember my last year when I was at Union. I remember one year it was Union, Ottawa, East Kentwood, Godwin, Lee. Like, every city school had lost first round of district to a suburban school. I said, well, when has that ever happened? And so the landscape has drastically changed. And I think across the country, like when I talk to guys across the country, it's the same thing everywhere. And it comes down to the resources. Public schools, like one thing I love about East Kentwood, and I'm in Kentwood, I live in Kentwood, so I love the way they spending my tax money. Like I don't have to question where that's going because I'm seeing it. Kentwood is all in on athletics.
Facts.
And I do think if you're going to build a school or you want to drive enrollment, drive culture, you should prioritize athletics. At least that have to be one thing you have to do. You can't have millions of dollars sitting and you don't even have, your athletic budget is tight. Like athletic goes hand in hand with with life. So I think
absolutely.
And I'm not saying it could be any extracurricular activity, but what Kentwood is doing, why they're one of the best public schools in the state, because they are providing resources and experience for those players, right? Like, and I don't get all public schools don't have the size that Kentwood have, but Kentwood is making a priority that they're not trying to be like statewide known. They want to be known on a national stage when it comes to their athletic program. And I mean, they got success, man. It's like a mini college. And I think if you're a public school and if you're not pouring in the resources in your athletic programs, you probably will never see a good basketball player or a good athlete walk through that door again, because the private school is going to invest in them in the athletics, and so will some of those public schools who prioritize athletics. And ultimately, parents going to do what's best for their kid to put them in the best situation to be successful. And it's all about resources.
Yeah. Well said.
We don't got too much time left, but I'm gonna ask you about just the state of Michigan, period. I think this might be the first year I can remember, and maybe I'm wrong, but there might be maybe a guy or two, but there's not going to be a lot of Power 4 guys coming out of Michigan this year. What do you think is going on in our state? What do you think should happen? What's going on? Why are we losing players? And why are we not being? Because I just know from my year, I always go back to the old times. I'm an old head now, but I can count on my, just off the top of my head, at least 15 dudes that went Power 4, Power 5. Just like, so what's going on in the state of Michigan?
Well,
how do we fix that?
What they say is the entire country is down. That's what I was told, even by NBA scouts. The next couple of classes, this with DeBanza and Peterson, Acuff and them, Trey McKinney, that class is phenomenal. But the next 2 years is down. And so I think the transfer portal, how much does the portal have to play with our kids not being able to go Power 4? I don't think much. Based off talking to coaches at that level. Here's what I think. I just think it's tough right now. Even for me as an event planner, it's the best of, we're making the best of what we got. I do think our best talent has continued to leave. I'm trying to think where to go back to. I remember Josh Jackson leaving, followed by Miles Bridges, and kind of just so on. Imani Bates. We losing those studs, man. And I love to see Tyron Stokes, playing in the public schools, man. Wish we could have got 4 years of Josh and Miles, but they want national competition, and the MHSAA saying, hey, it's not about the 1%, it's about the 99%. And so we're going to prioritize all 99. Now, I do think we got some rules that's a little outdated, but I do think the MHSA has allowed schools like Orchard Lake was able to play IMG last year. So you bring in a national prep with All-Americans in to play another All-American, which I thought was cool. But we still can't play prep schools, or prep schools can't participate in any events, or we can't play in events that feature prep schools. So I think I would love to see MHSA sort of do a little bit like Ohio does, where they kind of allow them to be a part of events that featured like top talent. Like, even if we're not playing, IMG Academy, but what if we're in the same event of that caliber? And so I think that would help kids, retain some of our top talent and stay versus them, leaving off. Look at Carlos Metlock. Like,
man,
I mean, I never really heard about Metlock. I watched him last year, and then he just blew up. But what Metlock is doing, he wouldn't be able to do that in Michigan had he not been at Link Academy, which is arguably the top prep school in the country, because they got resources. They prioritize what he wants to do. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. I know people want to blame AAU, but look at this. Pay close attention to this. Our better players are leaving the state. They've been doing it, but I've seen guys in Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, and Chicago. And obviously the Family 17U team is not on the circuit this year. Hopefully they get back to being on the circuit, because when the family is at its best, the state is at its best. But
we need it.
I mean, you look at some people, they say, man, you see people in the community saying, man, we got a lot of talent here in Grand Rapids, or the state of Michigan is loaded. But when I talk to Power 4 coaches, they're saying the complete opposite. So I always say, who do I believe? What the community is saying, or what the Power 4 coaches is saying? And so hopefully, in the next few years, we can get back to having some of that talent. But it's going to be interesting as more kids start to go off to the private schools. And hopefully, let's see, do we get a shot clock? Like, it's time for a shot clock. No more passing the ball for, 40 seconds. Like, it's time to move on from that. Let's play the sport like how it's played at the highest level. I want to hear nothing about no cost and things that's going to cost an extra couple dollars. Invest into your athletic budget, get a shot clock, and let's help the sport overall. And I think if we start by doing that, and then, keep working with the MHSA to allow some of those teams with elite players to compete in some of those events. And then obviously the development has to continue to get better. We that's all across America. I know people ripping American basketball because they're looking at the top of the NBA, and the Europeans have dominated. Obviously, the big guys with guard skills, and then you got these big guards that's 6'6", 6'7". So the game is changing, and obviously it's growing on an international level. You could be number one in the country, but it's some kid right now. Like, I remember when Wemby was getting discovered, I think Imani at the time may have been number one in the country. And a friend of mine who's a scout, he said, hey, you don't know this yet, but it's a 13-year-old in France nobody's talking about. His name is Victor Wembanyama. I'm like, who is this? This dude was huge. And then he said he's going to end up being the number one player in the world. We got the social media and stuff to pump our kids. But, the NBA has 30% of the rosters with international players. And then we need to find a percentage of how many of these guys are taking these back-end roster spots, are 3-4 year players coming out of mid-major schools, right? Like, I'm looking at these guys, I'm like, hey, who is Kobe Jones? Oh, he was at some school in the Mountain West. And I'm saying, wow, like, these guys are coming in. They don't have an ego. The NBA doesn't want to deal with ego. because it's a lot of money being thrown around. And so now college players are starting to dip into the college product even more. So now they're starting to take spots. So it's going to be a domino effect. I would just say for us as a state and as a country, let's keep teaching the kids how to play the game. I love the skill. I love the pop, 1, 2, 1, 3, 4 step back. I love it, but let's teach them how to read the game a little bit better. Let's teach them how to play both ends. I just think it helps kids overall, just teaching them how to play where it translates to higher levels for them, especially our elite players. Because I'd have been at some of these AAU, these shoe circuit tournaments. I'm like, dang, man, I thought this kid was a lot better on his highlights. But then I'm like, man, he can't shoot. He can't read off the ball screens like he should. You know, he can't guard. Like, but the highlights telling me something different. So I can see why they hire. But, you know, hopefully America, you know, we always gonna have talent, regardless. But yeah, the narrative that it is shrinking. But I just think with the NBA being a professional business, they're going to keep pouring their resources in to the ones that's going to help build their brand and not tear it down.
Absolutely.
Fascinating topic. Go ahead.
Can I confess something? You mentioned, he looked good on the highlights, but you see him in person, it's a different story. That's the reason why I stopped doing highlight videos.
Me too.
Because, yeah, man.
Wes used to do the highlights. Wes used to come to our games.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You did a highlight on one of my players. He struggled all night, but he looked good in the highlight.
See what I'm saying?
It's the highlight. Yeah.
So
it's
you saying
man.
you're like creating a narrative, like a false narrative, basically?
It is.
I was a part of what they call mixtape culture, right? Making the player look better than they were. And what also pisses me off too as a competitor, like I'll go to a game and see the guy. I mean, maybe he scored 16, played decent, but they lost by 25. And then the next day, he posts his highlights on Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah.
Don't say nothing about the game. Like,
oh man,
what? Like, I don't know. If it was me, I don't even want to talk about the game. I'm not even going like, it's over with. I'm looking at the next game. I'm not even gonna post. I'm not even gonna post a picture. Like, come on, that's just me. That's how you know I'm getting old. But
no, I'm with you. I used to do them too, and I'm like, dang, this. I send them to the college coaches. They used to say, hey, send me game film.
Yeah.
It's a different. Now you see kids like younger 5th, 6th grade. I saw a kid highlight. He was doing nothing but freaking B-roll clips.
Yeah, crazy.
I was like, what is this? Like, it's just, you used to have to work for a highlight back in the day, man.
Straight up.
Yeah. You used to work. Now I can just pay somebody, to film me, whatever. And I'm cool. It's 2026, but yeah, I get you on the highlights for sure.
I got called out by one of Grace Christian's coaches back, I think I want to say like 2018. It was East Kentwood versus Wyoming. I think it might have been districts. So it was like Menolito, his junior year, Jamadi Jones on EK.
Remember that game?
The game was hectic, man. It was just like back and forth. It was a hype game, but when you just like look at it, analyze it, like as a coach, it was just a terrible game. Like terrible shots, a lot of awful misses, turnovers, all that stuff. But I posted like a 10-minute video. Basically, obviously, like trying to get people hyped. Like, oh, this game was hype. Like, check this highlight out.
Yeah.
The coach was like, this was one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, dang, I don't even know how to respond to it, but I agreed though. But I'm trying to like grow this channel at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That was the battle I was fighting. I just got tired of fighting that battle. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, listen, these are some fascinating topics, and I think this is worth another show. I think Brandon will be willing to come back on at some point.
Sir.
I know he will be, because it's a lot of topics we can talk about. We've already broken some down, but I would love to peel some of them back more, because this is just some good stuff that people need to hear and learn about just the whole culture of basketball in the state of Michigan and the United States, really, at this current moment. But before we get off, B, talk to us a little bit about the tournament, or excuse me, the showcase. Where can we get tickets?
Yeah, we
Dates
had
and all that.
January 31st and February 7th, both Saturdays, back-to-back weekends. Tickets are being sold right now online. $10 pre-sale, $15 at the door. You can visit 2kshowcase.com, click the ticket link, and then it'll take you directly to the tickets. So I always advise people to purchase them early. This year we're doing something different. We only have 2,300 tickets total. Normally we would sell more, but only 2,300 tickets total. And so first come, first serve.
Yeah,
Get on it. Get on it now.
Keep them crowds in control.
Yeah, we've done had 7 consecutive sellouts. So we had to go get a little more. We sold Cornerstone out too about a few years ago. So we just had to get a little bit more space. So the field house should be perfect.
Yeah,
that's what's up. I look forward to it, and I can't wait. I'm gonna attend both dates, so I can't wait.
Yeah,
so
come down, come on, Wes, you too.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Tremble boys will be there. So
yeah.
But hey, listen, B, thank you for joining us, man. And we look forward to having you back on the show. We think you can be a regular contributor to the show because you bring so much knowledge and experience, and just from this, we went a lot over than what I thought we were gonna go, but just it was so much knowledge that you just spit today, man. So I appreciate you, spending the time with us today.
I appreciate y'all having me, and I'll be back on soon.
My man.
Appreciate it, BG.
Well, listen, that's another episode of the Inside Out Basketball Podcast. Again, I'm your co-host, Pete Trammell, joined by my little brother, Wes Trammell. You can find the shows on YouTube. Our YouTube page is on. I have it posted on our on the show, or I'll definitely post it in the bio. Definitely our Instagram, too. You can find clips on our Instagram page. So just go ahead, take a view. You know what I mean? Give us a comment, like, subscribe. But we definitely appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you next time.